We are recording.
Okay, we will call the meeting to order. The first order of business will be the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Did everybody see those?
I'll make a motion to approve them as written.
Okay.
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approved. So what I'd like to do is give a quick overview for the new members of where we've been and where we are. This project started in, came to our board in October. We met with the developers, with the code enforcement officer, because in November, we met again and decided to send it to the county planning board so that they could look at it. It was a little bit premature on my part to do so, but because it was a big project, it was new to us, and because the county board was instrumental in creating our code, we wanted them to take a look at it to see if we were on the right track here. So I went to them a little bit early and got their feedback. Sent it back to the developer so they could make some modifications. Kept Eric in the loop. He was not able to join us early in the process. So we met again in December and we met again in January. The Roses are the neighbors to the project, and they have several concerns about the project that they've been discussing with mostly Mark Richardson at this point for US Light and Energy. I don't know exactly where they are with their negotiations, but so that brings us to tonight. Had a discussion with the town attorney, Eric, yesterday. There's some legal issues, I guess, that we need to clear up. One of the things that is still not clear in his mind, and Eric, you can step in at any point, is the right of way, which is still being researched, I believe.
Yeah, Mike, I have reached out to the developer, and I've talked quite a bit with Mark Richardson, and Mark has provided a bunch of documents, and my preliminary look is that there does appear to be a right of way there. That's not conclusive, of course. I've asked Mark to provide an abstract of title so that I can take a peek at it. So we'll look at that and let the board know.
Okay, did you say there does or doesn't appear?
There does.
Okay. Okay, so that's about where we are at the moment. Eric has suggested. So hang on, Pam.
So there
Eric
is a
has
right of way.
suggested that we retain the services of an engineering firm to look at the seeker and to make sure that the project itself is acceptable to town code. We're looking for some expert eyes on this because quite frankly, it's over our head. So I believe that the town has gotten a bid from at least one firm that will be willing to look at this project for us and look the seeker over. And I think it's the seeker that's probably most important at this time, that we make sure that, because the developer filled it out, we want to make sure that it's done to our satisfaction also, and all the questions are answered before we have a public hearing on the issue. So that's, we're going to turn that information over to the engineering firm when the town hires them. I believe that's close to happening. Bob, could you help out here?
I'm sorry, Mike, could you say that again?
We are close to hiring a engineering firm to look at this project.
I think once we come to some agreements with the developer to secure funds, yes, that's the plan.
Okay. That I believe is in motion between Eric and Mark.
Yes.
So once that happens, we'll let the recommendations will come back to us and to Eric. from the engineer. Well, I think we'll have a better picture of the whole project, the right of way, the seeker, to make sure that it was filled out right. I mean, I read the seeker. Doesn't mean much that I read the seeker. You know, I've read Pam and Jim's comments. You know, doesn't mean much that I read them. It means, you know, I'd rather have Eric's eyes on them. I'd rather have a professional engineer on them. I think the board would be in agreement with that.
Yes,
Yep.
definitely.
So one of the things that Eric would like us to do tonight is declare lead agency for the seeker so that we can move that process forward. I think our town code calls for that anywhere, but Eric's document is nice and tidy and legal. And provides.
Like, there's some procedural steps with seeker that you kind of have to take, okay? And
Yep.
this, you know, when you're doing a coordinated review that involves other agencies, lead agency has to be established. And statutorily and under the seeker regulations, I think the planning board is the appropriate party to do that. So the resolution recognizes that. And, you know, if DEC or one of the other agencies wants to dispute that, they can. I don't suspect they will. You're the appropriate party.
Okay. So that's, yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I think the resolution provides a mechanism for those parties to be notified, so that everybody has a seat at the table if they so choose to have someone.
Represent a lot of towns, I see.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Mike, I have a question.
go ahead.
Why is the 1% application fee not been paid? Isn't that part of your law?
Yeah, that is a discussion happening right now between the attorney and the developer.
Why is there discussion?
It's new.
That's Jim Rose.
It's new for all of us. We had some lapses in how it was supposed to be collected and by whom. I think some of us felt that there should have been a town board function. Some thought it was the code enforcement function. Some thought it was the planning board function. It's not something that slipped through the cracks. I think we're all aware of it. It was just the mechanism of how it was going to happen. And I believe Eric has that under control at this time.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
So the board saw the resolution. It's not overly lengthy. If anybody wants to see it, we can screen share here. This is, I believe, is a standard resolution to declare lead agency status for the town planning board.
Can everyone see that?
Yes,
All right, let me know if you want me to scroll.
they intend to be designated, yes. Okay. June, okay. Mhm.
Is it too early to make a motion to approve it as written?
Yeah,
No, you can go right ahead.
All right, so I make that motion.
Okay, and second.
yes,
Okay, seconded, all approve, or all in favor?
yes.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, approved. Jenny, would you sign that and get a copy to Jeff for the records and a copy to myself, please?
And Mike,
Yes,
I'd
I will
like to
take-
for my file as well.
Okay,
I will take care of that. I'll follow up with you, Mike, after the meeting to confirm all parties it needs to go to.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so that's out of the way. Bob, you can drop that, thank you. So that's where we are at the moment. We're going to let some professional eyes take a look at this. We're going to let Eric work on the right of way to make sure. I don't really legally know from the planning board aspect if we can approve a project without knowing about the right of way. I wouldn't think we could, or certainly shouldn't. But so once we have that answer, and the recommendations or discussion with the engineers looking at the project for us, I think we can move forward at that point. That sound fair to everybody?
Yes.
Mike, is there somewhere as a new person where I can look at sort of your history of solar projects? I mean, I tried to follow along in articles and things, but would that
The
be?
history of solar projects, plural, this is our history, this project. So everything that we have document-wise is in the Google Drive.
Okay.
So the meeting minutes should be all there. The documents from the developer, the updated documents, the documents that from Jim and Pam Rose are not in that. So that's-
I have those. That's okay.
I sent you some of those today. Their responses, most of that is between the developer and the Roses, though. We will certainly give them voice at the proper time. But Jim and Pam and Mark, all of you, please know going forward that if you want something to appear before the board's Tuesday night meeting, we need to have it Friday. We can't get stuff today. That's a lengthy read for any of us to try to digest and think about, and take action on. So, if you have something to come with, we need to see it the Friday before.
All right, well, apologize that, but same thing last month. I never got it till 7:30 in the morning, the day of the meeting, but
Yeah.
doesn't make it right. I apologize. It's just been a lot of work.
And I have a quick question as well. When you say that the stuff that we sent for documentation is only between basically Mr. Richardson and us, the inconsistencies in the information, the board should be very concerned about, in my opinion.
Well, that's why we're hiring an engineering firm to look at that.
But it still should be a concern.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether you hire an engineer or not, it's not like it just separates you from that, because you need to do due diligence for
Well,
all of us involved.
there's items in your discussion with the developer that's between the two of you, not between the board. The board has a duty to follow the code. The code was written with the intent to protect neighboring properties from all development, and that's the duty we have to follow.
So the paperwork that's filed and recorded doesn't matter? you?
No, that's why we're going to look at the seeker with professional eyes to make sure that it was filled out properly, make sure it takes all the neighboring concerns. You know, if it meets all the legal parameters, I mean, some of the issues that you guys have with the vegetation and the fencing and stuff, we're trying to help out with that, but you know, you guys have to come to agreement on what you agree on there. The board, you know, doesn't want to step in and doesn't want to dictate to either party how it's going to be. It's, you know, it's certainly a whole lot easier if you guys come to an agreement than us try to sit here and say the fence needs to be 8.6 inches tall and the trees need to be 11 feet tall. You know, those are the issues I'm talking about. That's between you guys. I mean, it's easier for you two or you three or all, you and the company to sit and discuss those issues and bring them back to the board. And, you know, we'll certainly comment on them if we don't think they're right one way or the other, but you try to help out both parties wherever we can.
I appreciate that.
So there's a lot of people here. Any other questions? From the board, is there any concerns with what's transpired so far tonight? So to further complicate this process just a little bit, I believe Friday will be our code enforcement officer's last day. So we'll not have a code enforcement officer to guide us through the rest of this project. Thankfully, we will have an attorney. So just our conduit of information will be lost for a little while. So we'll figure that out.
Mike, I'm still going to be working part-time for the town, so I will try to keep the information coming to you. Anything I get in an email.
Okay, perfect. So is there questions or comments? So on the agenda, there was a second solar project out on Route 11. That developer I spoke with late last week, they are nowhere near ready to come to the board. So we'll wait for something more formal from them before we discuss that project.
Whereabouts on Route 11, Mike?
It's roughly across from Route 11 truck,
Okay,
the Curtis property. I believe that would be out behind the railroad tracks.
yep. Thanks.
Anything else? Mark has shared the latest site plans and stuff with the board that developed from the conversation between you and Jim and Pam. So I guess our biggest issue is that right away and, you know, getting some eyes, professional eyes on the seeker. Are we, Bob, Marianne, whoever can answer this question, are we able to schedule a meeting at this point?
You mean a planning board meeting?
Correct.
I would say that mostly has to do with the timeline that Eric is working on. So I would defer to him about how he thinks that could play out.
Mike, I don't think there's anything wrong with scheduling some sort of status meeting for February,
Okay.
just to keep things on track for everyone.
Are we able to do 16th or the 23rd, members, board members?
Either way is fine with me.
Either way.
Siggy?
Either way.
Deb?
I'm okay, but I would prefer it to be on a different day than Tuesday because I have a conflict. I have a meeting from 7 to 8 on Tuesdays
Well,
or later
gee,
or earlier.
Deb,
Sorry.
your obligation is to us first.
And it is tonight.
17th to the
Elizabeth,
24th?
Is
So
that,
Wednesday?
is
Or
that
Wednesday?
Tuesday or,
17th,
yeah, Wednesday anytime.
Wednesday, 17th.
Okay, Wednesday the 17th?
That's fine with me.
That doesn't work for me.
That doesn't work for you? Okay. How about the 24th?
That's good for me.
Okay for me.
Thank you.
And I'm having the problem with the Wednesday. I have a board meeting for
Okay.
Success of the North Country on Wednesdays.
Okay.
Thursday,
We got 18th and the 25th.
That's fine.
Or you
18th,
go-
good.
25th I could do.
Either one is fine.
25th is fine.
25th is better for me,
25th
Jenny.
is not for me.
Me too.
Okay, 25th is good.
Jenny, what'd you say?
Oh, I was just saying the 25th is better for me. The 18th, I have another board meeting earlier that day and I'll have a lot of minutes to do, but I can make it work if it needs to be done.
Oh, no, the 25th is good.
25th is
Mike, I don't know if you want me there, but the 25th is out for me.
Who's that?
That's Eric.
Eric.
You and I can confer before that.
Perfect.
If you have anything to bring, we'll just do a status update at this time. We'll see what happens with the town board and the developer or the engineer. And we'll just shoot for 6:30 the 25th. If there is nothing that is transpired by that Monday, we'll probably just call the meeting off until we have something to report.
okay.
Is there an ongoing dialogue, Jim and Pam and Mark? Are you guys still talking? Or have you reached a conclusion or a point of
So I had, this is Mark, I had reached out to them via email after our in-person meeting and sent some documents along, and I just got those comments back today. I think you received those same comments, but there was no specific discussion about the documents that we had provided. So I mean, we're awaiting some comments back on the proposal that we made, and then we have not yet received those comments.
Okay, Mark, did you share the documents with them that you shared with us from the 12th concerning the sound levels, the revised site plan?
I'm not certain that we shared those, but we certainly could. I felt that submission to the town would have sufficed, but we're happy to share whatever we produce to the town with the roses as well.
Well, typically, I would prefer that these conversations happen right here in public, so I don't typically share these with anybody outside the board. And it's a lot of documents to share. I mean, it concerns your discussions, I think, your revised site plan and certainly the sound levels that they were interested in, they would want to take a look at. They're not really part of the public documents for part of the minutes at this point because it's still ongoing. But
Yep.
I would ask that you share that with them so that they can see those.
Sure, happy to do that.
Mike,
Yes,
Dan Huntley.
hi, Dan.
I've got a question. You mentioned the right of way.
Mhm.
Would you please, I'm sorry I'm late getting on this call. You may have gone over it already, but would you give me an update on the status of that right of way?
Well, that's the status of the right of way is one of the things that's hanging us up at the moment. I know Jim and Pam have documented that they have right of way from when Jim bought the property in early 80s, Jim. I'm assuming that somewhere along the line that the Brewers had right of way from the Burwells also. I don't know what that right of way is, and that's what Eric is researching right now. I think he's going through probably county records, the deeds from all the neighboring properties. It was an abandoned road at one time, which further complicates matters.
Wouldn't the town have documentation on the abandonment of that road?
I believe they would. I don't know when the road was abandoned, to be honest with you. It was probably the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
I would think probably somewhere in the archives, there might, one of the things that I have found since being on the planning board is records from that era are either non-existent or very sketchy.
I think there is.
From what I've been told, I asked around, and Terry Billings tells me that that was done a long time ago, far prior to when the land was purchased.
Well, and that's what I had assumed also. So,
Yes,
go ahead, Dan.
I'm just from some experience on the towns, but there is state documentation on definition of abandonment.
Correct, and I don't know, Eric, if you want to jump in and help out here. I don't know if the road was abandoned and then split up between the properties, or that's probably what Eric is looking at right now.
Yeah, and Mike, just so we're clear, I don't have enough information yet to make a conclusion in my mind. So, but that is something we're looking at.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just to clarify too, I mean, Burwell's can't give Mr. Brewer a different right of way. It's only the way the same as it is already on the easement.
Yeah, I will profess ignorance on that, Pam. I don't know the mechanics of it.
Okay. Thank you.
It's certainly something I know the board, all the members feel strongly about is that right away is a sticking point right at the moment. And then, it obviously is for the developers and, it is for all of us. The one thing we want to do is we want to do this right. Which unfortunately means we're going to do it slow. Anybody else have a question, comment, concern?
Mike, this is Mark again, and if there aren't any other questions, just for my clarification, the next meeting tentatively is the 24th at 6:30 or the 25th? I'm sorry, I missed.
Whatever the Thursday is,
That would be the 25th.
25th.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
I think that's when we can get all parties to the table here.
Well, for the record, we're available anytime. Earlier in the day works if that works for people's schedules, but you just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, this is Bill Sparkman from Chazen.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. When would you like to send, and what form of documents would you like to send to your TDE, your town designated engineer?
Well, that's a good question. We have all of the information, I think. We have the seeker. We have the site plan. We have the revised site plan. We have the county review. I think we could get that all to the engineer once we figure out who that's going to be and exactly what documentation they want. If there's something that we don't have, we'll certainly reach out to you and have you provide that.
So the reason I asked is I know that the plan set that we sent to you is kind of an interim set as the nature of the layout is being discussed among the parties. And also in that same vein, the EAF that was prepared for your secret determination is based on obviously the old design. So I think if you would like to send the latest and greatest to your engineer, I think some updates would probably be needed from us to make sure that they have all the information that's currently being incorporated into the set.
Okay, that would be perfect. I suspect that the layout change doesn't change the seeker all that much.
Some of the numbers change, like the area totals and stuff like that. It would just be a comment that your engineer would provide.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, if we could negate that, that would be great. Based on the latest iteration of your project, if we could get that EAF updated.
Okay. Do you know how long of a time frame you would expect your engineer to return those comments to? I just want to make sure that we can meet a timeline that can happen for the 25th, basically.
Well, Mike, I could probably comment on that. I think once the escrow account gets straightened out, we're going to execute a contract with the engineering firm sooner rather than later. So they'll be ready once the funds are in hand to turn it over to them. And I could see just giving them access to our Google Drive, the files in our Google Drive. So any files that you don't think are current, I would suggest sending anything that needs to be updated as soon as possible and ongoing as they become available so that there aren't any lags.
Okay.
Yeah, Bob, what we could do in the meantime is clean that drive up for some of the old stuff so they don't get confused also.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
Mike, I have a question or maybe a concern, I guess. With Eric not being able to be at the next meeting, he's the one that's doing a lot of this legwork and research. If it shouldn't be on a date that he can attend the meeting, just so he can be kept up to speed and bring other questions to or answer questions that are brought to the table. I mean, that's up to you, Eric. I mean, tell me what your feelings are.
Yeah, Jim, I think, for a status meeting, I don't think they're going to be in a position to really make any determination come the 25th. I think the planning board can handle that. And if there's anything that's at issue at the time, I think we can probably figure out a way to communicate my position. And then if there's questions that, for instance, like you have, that's something that we can get answered and, before any real determination is made. I don't suspect that the February meeting is going to be anything more than status, just to make sure that there aren't any open questions or things we need. I don't suspect that the seeker is going to be ready for a determination come the 27th or the 25th.
Okay.
So, and we still, just so you're aware, right, after we get everything finalized, it's still subject to a public hearing before a decision is made. So if there are questions that come up on the 25th that I'm not there to answer, there'll certainly be time to do that before any decisions are made, okay?
Okay.
And can I just add one more comment, Mike, about, to address Mr. Sparkman? I don't think anything should get sent to any engineering firm or the county until you feel that your packet is complete. I think to send it prematurely and then have any changes made defies the reasoning why we're sending it there in the first place. So when you say this is your final packet, that's when we'll send it to the engineer. Otherwise, it's incomplete and there's no point in wasting their time with incomplete materials.
If that's the board's statement on it, that's totally fine with us.
Yeah, that's understood from our end, and we'll make sure that any materials that we have provided already, that we will settle on a final design, I think, and that would to Bill's point, that may impact slightly some of the area totals and things depending on where the point of interconnection is located, things like that. So, but it shouldn't substantively change the plan, the design, the submittal packages that we've already submitted. But just when you have a third party do the review, they look for everything to match. So we'll make sure that that's the case when we submit that.
For sure, because we're spending your money and we'd hate to send it to them twice.
Yeah, we're judicious about how we spend our money, and we don't like to spend it when we don't need to.
Same here. Understood. Thank you.
So I think it's probably important then that Jim and Pam, that you guys get with Mark and Bill sooner rather than later. Mark or Bill, one of the two of them will send you the updated site plan. Hopefully a lot of your concerns are addressed. The sound level concern, I think was appropriately addressed. See if you agree or not. I know that was one of your concerns. Some of the site plan, there was going to be some movement so that the wetlands are now not affected behind your property, so you won't see solar arrays directly behind you. Those are a couple of the highlights of the revised solar plan that they've submitted. So you guys take a look at that and, get together, sooner rather than later so that these documents can be provided for review.
So Mike, in part of our discussion was removing the solar array out of the wetland, and I had asked if they would consider downsizing to not even disturb any trees also. And Mark pretty much said that that's not feasible. So the new plan was to remove more trees, and quite a little significant amount of trees. So it's kind of a, we're kind
if
of.
I may, that plan is not finalized, Jim. You guys haven't commented yet on the design, so I think we still have to have that discussion. I don't think it's really fair or appropriate to talk about a design that isn't complete or submitted yet.
All right, well, I just gotten Mike up to speed. He's obviously seen some of it, and it's just part of the discussion. So we can review that further.
That'd be great.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns?
Yes, at least the site plans that you're talking about, those that, Mark sent us a brief one that was a smaller version and didn't have all the details as it sounds like that you guys have. And also some of the information that some of the board members asked last month that we're going to be addressed. I'm assuming all of that was addressed as well.
To a point, I think, to the point that is appropriate to the project. I think if once you see the site plans, it'll be a little clearer to you which points were addressed, which points weren't addressed. I think there was some issues.
I guess we didn't see them to the extent that you did. And, you know, as one example, Ms. Backus asked last month about the green and the screening and that, and he did send us at least a little bit of a visual of that, but it doesn't show the panels all the way up the field. And we talked about a couple different types of greenery, and it only showed one. So it's hard to make decisions on something that isn't completely what we had talked about in final.
Pam, I have to take exception with that. I'm sorry, and we really should take this offline. The rendering that we provided shows multiple species. It shows bayberry, it shows blue spruce, it shows arborvitae, and it does show the panels all the way up the hill. That is what you would see from the vantage point of the pictures that I took. I provided that to the board. We also provided the proposed draft layout for everybody's consideration, including yours. We will not do more extensive work on those until we have some indication from you if that generally meets your criteria. It doesn't make sense for us, or for anybody, to go to the trouble and the expense of creating a very detailed layout if you haven't commented on that yet. So we're waiting for you to provide some comment to us so that we can turn around and give a more detailed plan to the board. So that's our stance on that. I mean, I think that we've kept the board up to date with that. I actually just now forwarded you that sound analysis that we did, and anything else that we provided to the board, I will make sure that you have copies of if you don't already. The board has not seen any more detailed drawings than the ones that we submitted, other than the ones that we initially submitted for this project.
So the ones that show the road change and the pole change, you're saying those are more detailed? Because I guess I didn't see
They are
that.
not more detailed because we haven't had that discussion with you yet. You didn't comment on those formally.
I'm saying the
to
ones
me yet.
sent to the board. The board says that the new plans that you sent to them will explain a lot of what we're questioning.
So we sent those same draft plans that we sent to you to the board so that they would know that we're trying to move this forward. But that is the extent. We haven't provided any more detailed drawings than the ones we provided to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so what I would ask, so for the board, for you guys, Pam and Jim, you need to look at that, make comments, get them back to to Mark and Bill, so that they can do a revised thing, so we can get it to the developer. We're waiting on you to basically. I mean, at some point in time, we're going to move along.
Well, I guess, even us considering that, we still have to, the easement is the biggest issue at this point. I guess that has to be determined. And we're trying to make decisions on something that we don't even know can happen at this point.
Well, we're going to go forward with the idea that the easement is there. If it's not, then it's not. But we can't sit for 2 or 3 months without doing any kind of progress, and then find out the easement's there, and then we're 2 or 3 months behind. I'm imploring upon you to get together with them, make your recommendations, look at those plans, decide what you like and don't like, so that they can provide a more detailed document so that we can get it to the engineer, and the engineer can make a determination while Eric is studying the other part of the process. Sound fair?
Well, we can continue to move forward, but it's also the point where, we could be wasting a lot of people's times if that right of way is not there.
True. That's the gamble we take whenever any project comes before us. We could spend months on this and it could go down the tubes, just like any other project. But, our duty as a board is to keep it moving forward until such time we hit a roadblock that, we can't overcome.
Okay.
I know you guys are busy. We're all busy, but, this is next door to your property, and, I know you have a huge stake in this, and, I implore you to get together and hash out any details that can be hashed out, and get a more detailed site plan to all of us, so that we can also comment on it too.
Okay.
Board members, anything?
Isn't the right of way written into the deed somewhere?
Well, we don't know that. That's part of the issue. I know Jim and Pam have, I don't know, I saw their memo. I don't know if Eric has in his hands Jim and Pam's deed. I don't know if that would be helpful if he does, or if he can obtain that from the county. At this point,
Like I said, there does appear to be some rights of way there, but I've only had the material for a short period of time. I haven't plotted it out. I haven't looked at the extent of it. I haven't looked at the history behind the deeds. That's what the abstract is going to show me, so that I can, give you some advice on what I see there.
and that's what we're waiting for. This has been the part that's made me the most nervous about this whole project, is we have not known about the right of way, and may not know for another 30 days at least. Anybody else? Going once? I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second? You need Siggy, Deb, Betsy, need a second to adjourn?
I'll second it.
Second, yep.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Mike, can you stay on for just a second?
I will.